Right now I am on Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills, and being surrounded by all these luxury stores has inspired me to reveal my watch collection. Well, it just so happens the 5 watches I've brought with me on this trip to LA are my 5 favorite watches, certainly the 5 watches that I wear the most. We've got 4 in the watch box, 1 on the wrist, and I will go through them in chronological order, which is to say the order that I acquired them. Starting with the watch I'm wearing today, which is my Cartier Santos. The mid-size model, because I have puny wrists and because square watches wear larger. Now, this watch is very important for 2 reasons. It is hugely significant horologically because it is widely regarded as the first ever men's wristwatch, an iconic design by Louis Cartier from 1904. And it's of huge personal importance to me because it's the watch that my mum bought for me in 2022, shortly after my dad died. So obviously there is a huge sentimental value to this watch. I love the fact that it has Cartier's quick change system, so you can swap out the bracelet really easily for a strap, which means you can dress the watch down and it means you can dress the watch up. And I would say I generally wear this watch on more formal occasions when I'm wearing smarter attire. So let's look at what's in the watch box, shall we? And let's start with my Rolex. Now, Rolex is a brand that has become overhyped, it's become overvalued. However, you cannot deny that Rolex make excellent sports watches. I had a Submariner for 10 years, sold it about 3 years ago, but for the decade I owned it, it kept excellent time and it didn't need a service. But last summer, to mark my divorce, I decided to buy another Rolex, and I've always been a fan of the GMT-Master II line because I travel a lot and keeping track of 2 time zones is important to me. And my favorite configuration has always been the so-called root beer with the black and brown bezel. So this is a 2-tone watch. It is stainless steel and ever rose gold. I do feel that on the bracelet it can look a little bit too blingy, so I chose to dress it down by pairing it with this excellent Everest rubber strap, which you'll notice incorporates the clasp from the bracelet. And yeah, I think this is a stunning looking watch. Then we have my 2 Omegas, starting with the Speedmaster. This is another iconic design. And yes, as I'm sure you're aware from all of the Omega marketing materials, the Speedmaster was the official watch of NASA. It was the first watch on the moon, but this is actually a pre-moon watch. This is a modern interpretation of the so-called first Omega in space that was worn by Wally Schirra on one of the Mercury missions in 1962. For me, this sits very comfortably between the original Speedmaster from 1957 and the professional model that came out in the late 1960s. It has such strong vintage vibes, and as such, I always choose to pair it with a distressed brown leather strap. It genuinely looks like a watch from the late 50s or early 60s, even though it actually came out in 2012. Well, shockingly, we're not going to make it through this video without mentioning James Bond, because the next watch is the Seamaster Professional No Time to Die edition. Now, I went back and forth on this watch for a long time. It came out before the movie did in 2020, and for 3 years I hummed and hawed about whether I wanted this. I looked at it in the window, I stalked it online. How would it feel being made of titanium? Is it too big for my wrist at 42 millimeters? Well, of course, eventually I tried it on, and the moment I did, I was like, I have to have this watch. So I bought it. And I love it on the bracelet. I think it's an amazing look, but the bracelet can get a tad uncomfortable. So I'll often wear it on the NATO strap, which is an amazing pairing, brings out the colors perfectly. I love the design. This is my favorite Seamaster that Omega currently make, by the way. I love the fact that it has no date. I love the fact that it has that vintage color scheme, that faux patina vibe to it. And yeah, this will probably be the watch I wear most this summer. Okay, last but by no means least is my most recent acquisition. I bought this at the start of 2024 when I signed my new contract with PokerStars. So again, it's a watch that will always have a memory for me. It's a watch I will always have a connection with. And it is a bit of a grail piece for me, the Vacheron Constantin Overseas Dual Time. Now, Vacheron is one of the so-called Holy Trinity along with Patek and AP. It is a watch brand that goes back centuries. It goes back to the 1700s. Vacheron supplied a pocket watch to Napoleon.
Good.
And I absolutely love the overseas dual time. As I mentioned earlier, I like watches that can track 2 time zones, and I love the way the Vacheron does it with the 12-hour hand rather than 24-hour hand and the AM/PM indicator. And images do not do it justice. When you hold the watch in your hand, when you look at it up close, you can see the craftsmanship. You can tell that it's a hand-finished watch, and it's a step up from everything else. It has the display case back, so you can see the perfectly crafted movement and the gold rotor. And like the Cartier, it has that quick release strap system, so you can swap out the bracelet for a rubber strap and dress the watch down, or dress it up by putting on a leather strap. And since buying this watch, I've probably worn it 90% of the time. It's currently my go-to watch.
Well, I am intrigued to hear what you think of my collection. Which is your favorite of the 5 watches that I've showcased in this video? Please let me know in the comments below. What else is on the checklist? Oh yeah, subscribe if you haven't already. Check out the video in the bottom corner if you haven't already seen it. And I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.